Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the viral subspecies classification workshop. I'm Wiria Radvisitinan. I'm a program officer here at Office of Genomics and Advanced Technology, Division of Microbiology and Infectious Diseases at NIAID. I'm a program officer managing Bioinformatics Resource Center. Really nice to meet you in person, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening for everyone to join online. Behalf of organizer as well as Elliot here. I don't know.
I'm Elliot Lefkowitz. I'm representing the Bacterial Viral Bioinformatics Resource Center for this workshop.
So I guess we're just gonna have a little welcome and introduction, and then we jump right into the science part. So let me see.
Your slides are
Okay.
there. You can
So let's see.
kind of look to the side.
So
And welcome to everybody over Zoom. Hopefully you can hear us. The Q&A will be used for questions and answers, but if you are having a problem hearing us, please type something in there and we should be able to act on it.
okay, let's start. So I hope everyone hear me okay. So I have a very simple diagram. So when someone identify virus, by sequencing or different type assays, then there's like a lot of people are analyzing the virus and see what it is. And one of the procedure doing that is basically classification. As you see, there's a tree here. And after classify to see what that virus is, have we seen it before? If we see it before, how much is different? So and most of the time, it's beyond the species level. That's why we said it's like in the subspecies level. After that, we share among research community and see whether the current countermeasures, including diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccine, whether that one still work. If it's not working, do we need to implement new one? And then if we need to provide recommendation to the public, do we need additional, with, for example, everyone fully familiar with the 6 feet apart, social distance, wearing masks, and quarantine. So anyway, so this is really simple diagram showing how much we have to do in order to interact or basically fight the virus that we identified. But not only that, then mutation happen. A few, maybe more. And so maybe sometimes it's so many that it looks so different from the beginning, from the original one. And not only that, this is not only one virus we're fighting with, there's more. So because all of this work that, important, and one of the steps that is a key in my mind, which is classification, basically inform it, basically the research community and everybody, how should we deal with it? So I just want to start off with this and thank again everyone for joining. And here is his objectives. We hope to facilitate discussion and interaction between the leading experts and the broader scientific community. Review existing classification schemes for viral subspecies approaches, equip researchers and public health professionals with the knowledge and tools needed to effectively address the viral subspecies classification for future outbreak and potential pandemics. We hope to define best practices for establishing subspecies classification system for the future. And the outcomes from this workshop will be disseminated broadly. So this is for the topic of the workshop. We are thrilled to receive, as of this morning, I just checked, 625 registrants around the world, more than 60 countries, and projected in the map here. So as you see, it's make us feel like this is a really important topic, and we really hope that, what we discussed here today, it would be a good start, starting process of moving forward. How can we work together? I want to point out the agenda of the meeting. It's posted, in the Reddit, and So each session we have a presentation, a few presentations or more. And then we post the questions. Hopefully you have a chance to take a look at the question. Those are the questions that circulate within the community. And we hope that we can at least have some comments, maybe hopefully answer. And then if you have any questions or comments at all, can please put in the Q&A or a chat that in the Zoom. And at the end of the day, each day we have brainstorming session. So, and the speakers moderator here have provided recommend reading materials, also posted in Reddit. And we're happy to share with you afterward as well. So since we have a full house today, there's a few meeting logistics I would like to go over. This is, something that we fully familiar with. So if you are virtual attendance, please put your full name with your affiliation and turn off your VPN, mute yourself if you're not speaking, and turn on your camera when you're speaking and turn off when others are presenting. So if you have any questions, please post the question in Q&A and indicate who the question is directed to. Questions may be taken live, and so use the Zoom raise hand function. This meeting is being recorded for internal purposes only. For in-person attendance, please raise your hand and wait to be called. At your desk, there's a button to push to talk mic to ask you questions. And for answering questions, please repeat the questions to make sure that virtual attendants can hear them before answering question. And for presenter and moderators, please, there's question both in person and online. And for speakers, we will have assigned for 3 minutes and 1 minute warning.
We do have someone moderating online
Yes.
questions, so moderators shouldn't have to worry too much about it.
Yeah. So we will make sure that you notified. So this is my last slide, acknowledgement slide. This is the list of organizing committee from CDC, BV-BRC, and CBI, and NIAID. Everyone here that I listed have been, discussed about importance of this issue or this topic, and we cannot be here without their support. And hopefully this is a good start, from many more. And we want to thank speakers, moderators for being here, from making time from your busy schedule. We really appreciate, your person, and hopefully we have really impactful, best practices and, powerful discussions. And thank you, registrations, everyone that joined virtually, we thank you. And lastly, but not least, the coordinating and technical teams from BV-BRC and NIAID. Thank you so much. And I think that's it from me. And let's Elliot take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Waria. And certainly thank you for all of your help in getting this organized. It's been a whirlwind effort to put this together in the short period of time. And I want to thank everybody who's traveled here and all of the myriad of forms and such that you had to fill out in order to make your presence felt. But we do think we put together a 3-day, 2.5-day workshop that will benefit not only all of us, but also benefit a number of different communities, both public health and scientific.
Okay, it's important to talk about the title, the viral subspecies classification. And the key, well, other than virus, which I think we all know what that means, subspecies is probably a word that every one of us would define differently. And to start off with, it's important that subspecies is hyphenated, as my ICTV colleague Jens Kuhn likes to remind me. If it were not hyphenated, it would suggest that it is a true official rank below the level of species that would be recognized by the ICTV and utilized to classify viruses. And therefore, we'd have no reason to talk about it because then the ICTV would take that responsibility. But the ICTV does not recognize a rank below species. There is no subspecies rank recognized by the ICTV. So we hyphenate it to indicate that we're talking about virus diversity below the level of species. So every thing that happens, all virus evolution below that level of species, is what we're including in subspecies. Okay, that's one definition, but it still doesn't help us in terms of what we're going to be talking about here. What is important when it comes to responding to some sort of outbreak, certainly with the COVID-19 pandemic, subspecies have become critically important in responding effectively to that outbreak. So I'm going to throw up my own quick definition of subspecies. I think it's something that will be revisited by a number of the talks here. But when I think about it, we start at the level of species, and we'll have a few talks with people from the ICTV talking about how the ICTV classifies viruses. But below that level, to me, a good working definition might be talking about subspecies evolution in real time, because that's what we're talking about when we're talking about responding to some sort of outbreak event of a virus. We're looking at the evolution of that virus in real time. And so that gives us a perspective in terms of evolutionary history. So subspecies is something happening while we're there, while we're responding to an epidemic. Official ICTV ranks species and up happen on a more protracted time frame. There are some species, there's some species that are divided up. If you look at their subspecies classification, like dengue perhaps, or hepatitis C virus, in which that level of evolution may have happened over decades or hundreds or even thousands of years. But generally, we look at species as different viral ranks that are evolving at the decade level or hundreds of years or thousands of years. So what the ICTV recognizes as official taxonomic ranks are in a time frame that some of us may have experienced over the years, but many of us, most of us have not, when we're talking about centuries or more. But subspecies is different. Subspecies, we're looking at current timeframes, and that's what's important. That's what we're talking about during this meeting here. And so, of course, the evolution of viruses at that subspecies level is in response to the various different selection pressures under which those viruses are impacting. And so we're looking at changes in fitness of these viruses, changes of their phenotype in response to those different selection pressures. And we'll hear about that from a number of talks that will be presented. And then, of course, general changes in fitness. It's important because it does impact transmission of the virus, pathogenicity, and ultimately disease. And so we classify viruses to account for this variation, and we name lineages to give us some way of referring to particular lineages that have been subject to particular selective pressures. Naming is important. It's sometimes kind of easy to forget about, but a lot of people care much more about names than they may do about the classification itself. That's definitely true for the ICTV, and we probably spend more time talking about official classification. So I think we will touch on names a number of times throughout this meeting, and it's important to recognize how passionate people can become about names. So why do we care about all of this? Well, we're all scientists. We care about it from an intellectual standpoint. We're curious about what is happening when viruses evolve and what drives that evolution. But one of the main reasons we're actually here is the other reason that we care. We want to understand how to more effectively respond to an outbreak of disease. And so that may be the public health response. It may be developing prophylactics, vaccines against the viruses. It may be developing antiviral and other treatments. And so that's sort of the ultimate outcome of this meeting. And as you've seen, as Wiria mentioned, we have a series of question and answer periods after each session, and we have a breakout session after the end of each day. And we're guiding those by the set of questions that we've come up with ahead of time that try to point us in the final direction of what the final outcomes of this meeting is supposed to be. And that is to derive a systematic response for any future outbreaks in terms of handling this thing that these viruses do, that they evolve, that they change their properties, and we have to deal with that in all of these different responses that we have. And so we hope, based on everything that's presented, based on all of the questions and answers that are going to be addressed in these 2.5 days, we hope to publish a paper that provides a summary of all of that, that has answers to these questions, that positions us to respond that much better to everything that's going on. And so if we look at the 2.5 days, 3 days, you see we're divided up, I think it's 7 sessions perhaps, with some general themes to each day. So today, we're going to look in general about virus evolution and how we track that evolution with certainly lessons from the pandemic. And then we're going to look at a number of different viral species, families and such. And we're going to look at what's happening with regards to those particular viruses and what might be unique about those viruses in terms of their subspecies evolution and therefore classification. And then day 2, we move on to how we do it. So day 2, we're going to talk about different approaches to classification. We're going to talk about tools that are utilized to classify the viruses. And we're going to talk about tools that can present the information in various different ways about the evolution of those viruses and what you see when you begin to trace that evolution. And then on day 3, we're going to talk about response, especially the public health response. So then we'll bring in people from the CDC and WHO and local state public health individuals who can talk about what the public health community is looking for from us. How can we better help them in terms of their response to future viral outbreaks? And then importantly, on day 3, we'll summarize the next step. So how do we go about collating all this information? How do we go about putting it together into a single publication? And then what else we do in the future to follow on from this?